now. Yeah, great. I'm also going to be monitoring the chat, and we'll try to make sure everyone's voice is heard. So feel free to comment in the chat. And then I'm also responsible for letting folks into Zoom. So I'll be the moderator and maestro person. Okay, so now that that is said, I want to formally introduce Emily. Emily Hamstra is the outreach coordinator at the National Network of Libraries of Medicine, the Pacific Northwest region. That is NNLM PNR. She provides education related to health literacy and National Library of Medicine resources. Additionally, she does outreach to library and health professionals. Emily has worked in an academic library, a public library, and for a library vendor. And with that, Emily, take it away.
Thanks so much, Greg, and thanks to Greg and Sue for setting this up and inviting me here today to speak with you all. So as Greg said, I'm the outreach coordinator at the National Network of Libraries of Medicine, Pacific Northwest region, also known as NNLM PNR. And so today I'm going to talk a little bit about what NNLM PNR does. And how to get involved in the National Network of Libraries of Medicine, because we're all focused on online learning opportunities right now for our library staff and students. I'll go over some of the resources that we provide there. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about some specific resources from the National Library of Medicine. So some of these you might be familiar with, like Medline Plus, but then some you might not be as familiar with, like Genetics Home Reference or NCBI Bookshelf. I'm going to spend the most of the time talking about the new PubMed and updates to PubMed. I'll give you a demo too of some of the new features in PubMed. So when thinking about the National Network of Libraries of Medicine, it's helpful to know how our organization is structured. So the National Network of Libraries of Medicine is a grant-funded program through the National Library of Medicine. The National Library of Medicine is part of the National Institute of Health, or the NIH. So the NIH has 27 different departments or institutes, and the National Library of Medicine is one of those institutes. So the National Library of Medicine is the world's largest biomedical library. And then they fund the National Network of Libraries of Medicine. So the National Network of Libraries of Medicine is really the outreach arm of the National Library of Medicine. So we're comprised of 8 regional medical libraries. So each region has their own regional medical library, and then 5 national offices. We are one of the Pacific Northwest region, or the PNR, is one of the 8 regional medical libraries, and we serve Alaska, Idaho, Oregon, Montana, and Washington. So the mission of the National Network of Libraries of Medicine, or the NNLM, is to advance the progress of medicine and improve public health by providing all U.S. health professionals with equal access to biomedical information and improving the public's access to information to enable them to make informed decisions about their health. So I mentioned that there are 8 regional medical libraries. Here you can see a map that shows how we've divided up the country. So PNR, the Pacific Northwest region, is based at the University of Washington Health Sciences Library. So the work of the PNR is to provide educational opportunities, outreach, and funding, and also promotion of NLM resources to our region. So we're focused on Alaska, Idaho, Montana, Oregon, and Washington. And you can check out more about our work and funding opportunities on our website, which is nnlm.gov/PNR. So the National Network of Libraries of Medicine is a network, and so we're a member-based network organization. If your institution is not already a member, you can join the National Network of Libraries of Medicine by going to this site here. When you become a member, you have access to our funding opportunities. So you'll get information about funding opportunities that we have available, and you'll be able to apply for those. You can also request to host a traveling exhibit through the National Library of Medicine. The National Library of Medicine has multiple traveling exhibits that are these banner exhibits that they'll ship to you that you can host at your library. That is on hold right now, but it's coming back. And we also provide programming resources for our organizational members, such as book club kits. So these are our reading club kits where you will get shipped to your library 8 copies of a book that's related to health and wellness in some way, and then resources and a discussion guide to go with that book club kit. We're really focused on citizen science programming right now because it's April and Citizen Science Month. So we're providing lots of programming resources for citizen science. And we're hosting a Wikipedia edit-a-thon coming up in April, or at the end of April, which I'll talk more about in a minute. All of our resources are free and freely available, and it's free to become a member organization. There are lots of opportunities through the National Network of Libraries of Medicine that you can take advantage of even if you aren't an organizational member. So you can sign up, creating an individual account for our online learning opportunities. We provide lots of webinars and continuing education opportunities. So just a few webinars that we have coming up are Leading with Compassion during the COVID-19 crisis, also Genetics, Genomics, and Precision Medicine, Past, Present, and Future. You can see our full schedule at nnlm.gov/training/classes by availability. And when you sign up to create an account, or when you sign up to take a class and you're part of the Pacific Northwest region, you'll automatically be added to our weekly email digest, PNR News. Through PNR News, we send out information about our funding opportunities, about online learning, either through the National Network of Libraries of Medicine or through other organizations that we partner with and support. I also want to mention a couple of online learning opportunities that might be of interest to your students. So we're hosting a virtual Wikipedia edit-a-thon, Site NNLM, on April 30th. The focus is going to be on preventative health and wellness. So we're asking people to edit Wikipedia articles related to preventative health and wellness by citing NLM resources. So maybe articles that you found in PubMed or from Medline Plus, and adding those citations. This is a great way to teach students about how information is created and how information is presented online. So there's more information about how to get involved in the edit-a-thon. If you want to take it up on April 30th with others, or if you want to do it on your own on a different date, there's information here about how to get involved. Also, we have some short PubMed tutorials that can be downloaded and imported into Canvas sites. So these are very short, little click-through tutorials. And then the link is here. And Greg is going to send out these slides after the webinar so that you have access to all of these links. Okay, so before I move on to talking about some of our specific resources, are there any questions about the National Network of Libraries of Medicine and some of the learning opportunities that we provide? take a look at the chat. Also, if you haven't already added your work zip code to the chat, please do that. So I need your work zip code for my NIH reporting. Awesome, thank you. Okay, so I'm going to move on now to talking about a few of the resources that we provide. This is through the National Library of Medicine. This is by no means comprehensive. This is just some of our more popular resources. So some of these you might be familiar with, or some of these might be new to you. All resources that are provided by the National Library of Medicine are free to use and available online. So Medline Plus is the National Library of Medicine's consumer health information portal. So this includes information on health topics, drugs and supplements. They also have a really great section on medical tests. So if somebody gets a medical test back and wants help interpreting what all the numbers mean or what the test results mean, there's a great guide in Medline Plus to that. Medline Plus collects information from a variety of sources. So some information is uniquely created just for Medline Plus, and then some is linked from other nonprofits or trusted organizations. The interface and content is available in Spanish and English, and then there is some content that's available in languages other than Spanish and English. Genetics Home Reference is another consumer health information site. This one is more focused on genetics and genetic conditions, where Medline Plus is more broad. This is a great guide for understanding different health conditions related to genetics and genes. They have this primer called Help Me Understand Genetics. That's a really great introduction to genetics. So this is a great reference for your students if they have questions about genetics or just kind of getting started with understanding different genetic conditions. This is a great resource. NCBI Bookshelf is more of a scholarly resource than the previous two. This is a collection of ebooks and reports in biology and medicine and the life sciences. Everything here is available full text. So any of the books or reports that you search in NCBI Bookshelf are available full text for all users. I took a screenshot here of one of the more popular books, LactMed, which is the drugs and lactation database. So it looks at the interaction of drugs and chemicals for breastfeeding mothers. Okay, I'm going to spend the rest of the time talking about PubMed, but I can't talk about PubMed without also talking about Medline and PubMed Central. So to start, I'm going to talk a little bit about how they're related and then talk more specifically about just PubMed. So PubMed is an abstracting and indexing database of over 30 million citations. So this includes citations from Medline, PubMed Central, NCBI Bookshelf is also included in PubMed. And PubMed is really focused on the biomedical and life sciences. Medline is kind of the core indexing of PubMed. So this is about 25 million citations from 5,200 journals in the biomedical sciences. So Medline is really focused on biomedicine. So there are some things in PubMed that are not indexed through Medline. You might know about Medline from using medical subject headings or MESH. So anything in Medline, any article that's included in a Medline journal has medical subject headings applied to it. And then PubMed Central has some overlap with PubMed and Medline as well. This is about 5.8 million citations. Everything in PubMed Central is full text. It's a repository. And this includes some journal articles, quite a few author manuscripts, and then some historical content as well. So if you've used PubMed recently, you've noticed that it's had a bit of an update. So the PubMed on the right is the new PubMed, and legacy, what we're calling legacy PubMed, is on the left. So the new PubMed has an updated interface and then also a cloud-based infrastructure. There are a few new features in the new PubMed that I'm going to highlight in this demo. And in particular, I'm going to talk about how the PubMed search works. I'm going to talk about automatic term mapping, medical subject headings, and then how to interpret your search results. So the next part of this presentation is going to be a demo. I encourage you to open another browser tab and follow along with these searches. Also, the new PubMed is mobile friendly, so if you're afraid that you're going to close out your Zoom meeting, you can follow along on your mobile device. I'm going to do some sample searches in PubMed, and I'll take questions as we move through these as well. And if you're watching this recording later, not watching it live, you can always email me if you have questions. It's ehamstra@uw.edu. Okay, so I'm going to give you a minute to navigate to the new PubMed. I'm going to navigate there as well. And can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, good. I want to make sure that I'm also in the right place. And are there any questions about PubMed, PubMed Central, MEDLINE before we jump into these demos? Okay, let's get started then. Okay, so I'm going to start by talking about automatic term mapping. And automatic term mapping is, I think, one of the coolest things in PubMed. It automatically maps your search terms to synonyms of that search term, including plural forms and alternate spellings. So you can, let's do a search for hand washing. So just go ahead and do a simple basic search. And instead of looking at our search results here, I'm going to go into advanced search. And on the advanced search page, under your history and search details, you can see how your search terms are mapping using automatic term mapping. So if you click on the little caret under details, you see that when you search the term hand washing, it's automatically searching also hand disinfection, hand and disinfection, or hand disinfection, hand washing, hand washes, hand washings. So just searching the term hand washing is going to include all of these other terms in your search as well. The new PubMed includes plural forms of the word, which wasn't included in the previous PubMed. So if you are getting search results that are slightly different from the legacy PubMed into new PubMed, that could be why. So you can take a look at your search details. Also, the new PubMed includes alternate spellings of a word, so not only synonyms and plural forms, excuse me, but alternate spellings as well. So if I did a search for pediatric, and it also searched alternate spellings of that word automatically. So legacy PubMed also had automatic term mapping, but the automatic term mapping has improved and expanded with the new PubMed. PubMed automatically assumes "and" in between your search terms. So if you search, let's search hand washing and COVID-19. So you can add it to your search builder here and then search in advanced search. And I'm going to take a look at, go back to advanced search to take a look at how it maps. So you can see how your full search has mapped, and then how each term is mapping as well. And the COVID-19 term mapping has been pretty interesting. So it automatically limits by date so that you're only getting recent articles on this particular topic. If for any reason you're searching and you want to turn off automatic term mapping, you can use an asterisk. So if let's do hand wash and truncate the word and COVID-19. And let's take a look at how that's mapping. So you'll see that the asterisk, or truncating the word, turned off term mapping, automatic term mapping for hand wash. So it just maps directly to those letters rather than the concept. So think of automatic term mapping as conceptual mapping. And then if you use truncation, it's just a literal mapping of those letters in that order. The new PubMed does include unlimited truncation. So if you prefer to have more control over your search and use truncation, there is unlimited truncation in the new PubMed. Are there any questions about automatic term mapping? Okay, let's go to the PubMed homepage. So you can get there by clicking your PubMed logo on the advanced search page. So I mentioned in my slides a little bit about MEDLINE. So MEDLINE is, it's a collection of journals in the biomedical sciences that are vetted and indexed by NLM. Each article in MEDLINE is indexed with medical subject headings. Medical subject headings are the controlled vocabulary for PubMed. Not every article in PubMed is included in MEDLINE. Some journals are outside of the scope of MEDLINE, but knowing how to search mesh and knowing how the controlled vocabulary works in PubMed can go a long way in your search. So you can take a look at the mesh database on the PubMed homepage under this globe icon. And the MESH database can be really helpful in helping you know what terms to use when you're searching in PubMed. So if you're in a situation where you want to do a very targeted and exact search, you're going to want to use MESH. So let's stick with hand washing. So I'm going to see how hand washing is defined and how it maps in MESH. So hand washing tells me that I should use the term hand disinfection. It gives a definition of the word, when it was introduced into PubMed or into MESH, and then how it's defined here. You can restrict to searching a MESH major topic. So if you click this box, that means that one of the main topics of the articles in your search results is going to be hand disinfection. And I'll show you in a few minutes a little bit more about that. The entry terms here are what pick up and connect hand washing to hand disinfection. So if you'll see your entry term listed there. If this particular term or concept went by different terms or concepts in the past, those are all going to be listed under previous indexing. And you can see how your terms are organized in the MESH hierarchy. So if the term hand disinfection is too specific for your topic, you can go a level up and take a look at hand hygiene. And if you do a search for hand hygiene, any term below it is automatically going to be included in your search. So doing a search for hand hygiene also includes a search for hand disinfection. And if there's any reason that you want to turn that off, you can click Don't Include MESH Terms found below this term in the MESH hierarchy. You can add that to your search builder if you find a term or a MESH concept that matches what you need in your search, and then you can search PubMed. So that was a very quick overview of medical subject headings. Are there any questions about MESH or medical subject headings? Okay, so let's do a couple more searches in PubMed. I want to spend the rest of the time talking about how your search results are organized. So we've talked a bit about how PubMed is structured and how it searches. So now let's talk about what we get out of it. So what the results mean. So I'm going to just do, you can do any search you want in PubMed. And we're going to take a look at our results. So the first thing to note is that in the new PubMed, your search results are organized differently than they were in legacy PubMed. So in legacy PubMed, your search results were organized by the most recent date. And so the most recent date would be at the top, going down. The new PubMed sorts results by best match. So it uses a different best match search rather than sorting by date. In legacy PubMed, the best match search mapped only to MESH. But in the new PubMed, best match and sort by date do the same search. So it's using automatic term mapping. So if you have somebody who is looking at legacy PubMed and they're getting a very different set of search results than they are in the new PubMed, that's often why. So ask them if they're using the best match search in legacy PubMed or how they're searching. Let's see. So your search terms in the new PubMed are going to be highlighted in your results. So you'll see them bolded throughout. And if there's any reason why you want to turn that off, you can do that by going to your display options and using the abstract view instead. The abstract view can be really helpful if you're maybe on a reference desk or doing some quick reference with a user, because you can look at the mesh terms and get a quick overview of what that article is about conceptually. I mentioned when we were looking at the mesh major headings, those in your mesh terms are the ones with an asterisk. So anything with an asterisk is a major heading, and that means it's a main concept of the article. So someone actually goes through each article that's in Medline and applies these subject headings by hand. And so they decide if this is a major topic and theme of the article, or if it's just something that's mentioned in the article. Taking a look at the left side of the page, you can view your different filters for your search. One of the common filters is kind of hidden under this show additional filters, and then looking at age. So a lot of times someone will want to search on looking for studies done in a particular condition and a particular age group. And so you can use these age filters here. Also notable is the journal filter. So if you're searching and using Mesh, it automatically limits to Medline. But there are some journals that are really important that are not included in Medline. So some of these journals might be included in the dental journals or the nursing journals. So if you're working with any students who are in dentistry or nursing, you might want to show them this filter because it limits to journals that are in that particular discipline. So let's go back to your search results and just click on any article. Talk a little bit about what's here in your results. So this cite button is new. This is fairly common in many databases, but it's new to the new PubMed. You can change which citation style you're using. If you're using APA style, it is the most recent one. If you're using a citation style that's not listed here, you can download the citation and then upload it into your citation manager. If the article is available full text, you'll see a link here. It might send you over to PubMed Central if the article is available through PubMed Central. If your institution has full text to the article and your students are logged in, they'll be able to access the full text. There are times where you won't have full text to the article and a user will be taken to the publisher's website. if you would rather that that your users are taken to your interlibrary loan form when you don't have an article, you can set up outside tool with NLM. An outside tool either routes users to your collected journals, or it routes them to your interlibrary loan form if you don't have it. And I want to mention too that if you can create an account, so this is my NCBI account up here, you'll see my name, and you can affiliate your account with multiple institutions. So if you have a student who is taking classes at your institution, but then maybe also works at Seattle Children's and has access to both your library and the library at Seattle Children's, they can affiliate their account with both of those institutions and then have access when they log in through both. So any articles that they have through Seattle Children's, they'll be able to access seamlessly, and access any articles from your institution as well. And you can affiliate your account with up to 5 different institutions.
Emily, Amy Herman asks, do we need to redo our full text linking to our own library's databases for this new version of PubMed?
That's a good question. And I don't believe you do, but I'm going to check on that, Amy. And when Greg sends out the slides, I'll include a response to that question. Okay, so I mentioned that everything in the new PubMed is also available on mobile. So you can use all of the features that we used in the demo on a mobile device. So I really scratched the surface today of what's available in PubMed. We do offer this wonderful webinar series called How PubMed Works, and it's a 4-part recurring series. Each webinar is 90 minutes, and so it goes very in depth into the different features in PubMed. So if you're really looking for more about PubMed than what I covered today, check this out. We have the 4-part series includes an introduction, information about selection. So this is a lot of information about Medline and how Medline journals are selected. Then mesh and automatic term mapping. It is going to be offered in May and June. You don't need to take these in order, so you can kind of take any of these that you're interested in, or take them out of order if you'd like as well. And then the recordings are posted on the NLM YouTube channel and the PubMed Trainers Toolkit. We have lots of resources for teaching PubMed, so those are all available through the NLM in the PubMed Trainers Toolkit. This includes handouts for users, PowerPoint presentations that you can use and present to your students, the video tutorials that I mentioned earlier, and then also the recorded webinars. I was at a conference recently and saw this presentation about how to teach PubMed using how to teach how the search works visually. So this includes an activity, having students draw out how the search works. So there's information about that instruction activity here as well. And now I'll take any other questions that you have. So Elaine, I see your comment about link out. Link out has changed to outside tool. And I'll send out more information about outside tool with the slides. So have any of you taught the new PubMed yet to your students? Or are you planning to teach it?
So I'm working with a dental hygiene class that the instructor has already taught it. Actually this week, and then next week I'm going to go do more follow-up on how, and then comparing PubMed to all the rest of our databases. So it'll be kind of
Interesting.
continuation and, you know, comparison and see what their questions are.
So Sue, will this be your first time teaching the new PubMed? Yet?
Yeah, I guess so. And I guess more specifically, I'm sort of more following up with what they learned last week and then or what they learned this week and then moving into our databases. But yes, it will be my first time at least responding to working with PubMed, the new PubMed. Yes.
And I see a comment from Amy Herman that they have a PubMed Synol class that they teach in the summer for nursing students. So Amy, you might want to show your students that nursing filter in the journals.
Yes.
It can be really helpful for nursing students.
I'll be forwarding your slides and presentation to the librarian who actually teaches that.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Do all of her materials.
Thank you. And if you haven't already put your zip code in the chat, please go ahead and put your work zip code in the chat so that I can keep track of who's here and what our reach is for the grant that I work on. I'm also going to put my email address in the chat. I know sometimes when you're in a webinar, you don't have questions, but then when it comes time to teach PubMed on your own, or if you have questions about upcoming classes that are offered through NLM, you can go ahead and send me an email. So my email is ehamstra, it's EHAMSTRA @uw.edu.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much, Emily, for that concise and informative presentation. And thanks for everyone who joined the call, especially those of you who are still on the call. Much appreciated. And I'm going to stop recording now.